Semiramis heard it long before she saw it. This great lumbering creature didn't so much walk as it did crash through the building behind her. "And who are you?" Her adversary was a ghastly blue behemoth, more monster than man, easily cresting well over 7 feet. Sparks skittered about it with every step, and the world shook beneath its advance. Horns mounted his shoulders, sheathed by a crimson mantle, and a golden crown set atop his terrible visage. A gnarled staff stood clutched in his right hand, yet the creature seemed to have no intent of using such a weapon. The behemoth stomped down, and the street shattered for miles in every direction. In a word, he was terrible to behold. "I am lightning, I am rider." Semiramis bristled. "You dare threaten me?" Poisonous golden eyes narrowed to vivid slits. She raised a palm, "To encroach on my territory." A ways in the distance, the hanging gardens of Babylon rose from its earthen mooring. "Taste class advantage, bitch!" "Damn it!" Mordred jumped as the shadow clone rammed his right arm through a wall, spraying plaster in every direction. "What the hell, zombie?" she snapped. Naruto didn't answer. He punched the wall again and again, tearing out great chunks of masonry with every swing. With the other, he held her close, keeping his left limb wrapped tight around her waist. Abruptly, the violence ceased, and his chin came down on her shoulder. Someone got the original. He pulled away just as quickly, holding her at arm's length. "Don't even know if he's alive or not. I'm sorry. I wanted to see where this went." "I wanted," he grimaced, trying to find words that refused to come. In the end, he gave up and shrugged. "Oh, screw it, if I'm going to die." His mouth crushed against hers before she could react, tongue ruthlessly plundering her mouth. Mordred found herself yielding for him with a gasp, one that became a rare moan as he gripped her by the waist and drew her in. Then she fought back, angling her head and pushing against him desperately, feeling a fear she'd not felt since she was alive. She couldn't explain it, only that she felt it all the same. Their kisses weren't gentle by any means or measure. They were rough and fierce and perfect, everything she'd ever wanted yet, never known to long for. And then he pulled away, leaving her gasping for air. "Naruto." "Come on, don't cry." Twin fingers flicked her forehead. "Come on, don't cry. I've got 3 seconds and no regrets. Go find Atalanta. Help her. She's nearby." "Please don't go." She cursed herself for her weakness even as she grabbed at his hand. "You can't die. Fight it. Resist. Like you always do." "I can't." He gave her a sad little smile as he faded. "And I love you too, hothead. Protect everyone for me, would you?" With those last words, her world turned to smoke. Mordred didn't weep. She was too strong for that. She didn't bend. She didn't break. She didn't take her fury and bury it deep like a sane knight would. No. The Knight of Treachery took her fury and held onto it, unleashed all of her love, all her anger, all her sorrow in a single shout. "You better be!" "Oh my!" And light, airy voice purred behind her. "Did he die already? That's a shame. I wanted to skewer him for what he did to my Atalanta." Mordred strangled a choking scream in her throat and willed, nay, forced, herself to turn and face them before she flew into a blind rage. She only partially succeeded. "Who in the blue hell are you?" "Oops!" Her adversary knuckled her forehead and stuck out her tongue. "Sorry about that. I'm Artemis. Can I kill you now?" Mordred twitched. "Kill. All right." Killing sounded like a damn good idea right about now. "Right." A cloud of steam escaped her clenched teeth. "You're dead." "If you say so." Saber raised her arm, and her blade snarled into her waiting palm. A column of crimson light burst from it, bathing the world in scarlet relief. Mordred barely felt the heat scorch her skin, and she didn't care. She barely saw her opponent through her tears, some white-haired bitch with a bow. Didn't matter, he was dead. She was dead. They were all dead. Everyone who dared to run this evening, they'd be ashes. She swore it on her pride, on her sword, on her everything. If she was going to die here, she'd go down swinging. And the debt would be repaid the only way she knew how. It would be in blood. Buckets of enemy blood. Clarent blood, Arthur. Rage. It turned Atalanta's world red and severed her anchor of self-control, casting her adrift in a storm-tossed sea of her own making. The raft of her emotions crumbled beneath her with each passing moment, threatening to send her plunging into the depths, never to return. She tried to cling on, tried to hold herself together, tried to be anything other than she was. She tried so hard. But in the end, none of it mattered. All that anger she'd felt guttered out the moment she laid eyes on Naruto's corpse again. She wanted to hold on to her fury, wanted to use it. No, no, no. She failed spectacularly and crawled forward on her hands and knees, reaching for Naruto's corpse. It didn't budge, didn't spring upright, didn't do a song and a dance, didn't laugh his death off as he had every other time before. Why? She'd not seen him lose his head before, but surely this wasn't enough to kill him. Right? Where had his head gone? She couldn't find it. Her hands came away bloody and she struggled to pull him upright, frantically trying to ignore the red stains seeping into her dress. "Don't do this to me," she begged, wrapping her arms around his chest. "Please, you can't." Her eyes stung, burning with bitter tears as she buried her head into his chest. Tiny, keening whine fled from her lips. "Please don't leave me all alone." "I haven't." The voice brought her up short. Had she imagined it just now? Hadn't she? Small? Weak? Little more than a whisper. She could have imagined it. Had she? She wasn't sure. His body had yet to dissolve as a servant's should. Did that mean anything? She wanted to cling to hope, but it was too painful. She didn't dare. Hope hurt. Blades slammed into cobblestones, bringing her up short. "Enough of this," Assassin of Blue declared. "You are a servant. Why do you mourn a corpse?" Just like that, the dying embers of Atalanat's anger howled back to life. Murderer. What did he know of emotions? "Shut up! What do you know?"
"You are angry." That eerie blue and black behemoth turned to face her, azure flames burning bright in the ghastly sockets of its skull. "That is your right. Come, if you mourn him so, then I shall reunite the two of you in death."
Atalanta twitched angry. No, that didn't even begin to describe how Atalanta felt in this moment. Miserable. Heartbroken. Alone. She'd finally let her guard down, forsaken her vow to find happiness. And for what? This. She'd seen this thing carved through Naruto with ease, and knew she would die if she faced it. She wasn't a frontline fighter. That task was best left to Saber and Berserker. She still drew an arrow to her bow and drilled it between Assassin's eyes. He vanished in a blur of blue flame. And then there was pain. Accept your defeat. A single swing severed her legs just below her knees and sent her slamming into the street. It was a cruel strike, brisk and efficient, not a single moment wasted. She cried out in pain, drew her bow, only to watch it break in her hands as the blade bisected it down the middle. Her weapon shattered like brittle kindling, leaving her clutching broken wood. Enough, servant of red. The blade swung down again, and the fingers of her right hand flew awa. Your legs are gone. Your bow is shattered. Why do you persist in this farce? Submit. Atalanta grit her teeth and slammed her forehead against the blackened earth to clear it. Was this what death felt like? Surely it must be. Somehow she managed to drag herself into an upright position. Though her legs failed her, though she could not stand, she could at least kneel. She had to move, had to rise. If that thing grabbed her again, she would die. Her head ached horribly, a foul reminder of just how close she'd come to losing her life a moment before. Why persist? She knew why, Berserker. And this enemy, it would kill everything he wanted to protect. If she let it get past her, the others would undoubtedly die. Harsh laughter bubbled out of her, frothing with blood on her lips. Foolishness. Have you gone mad from fear? Atalanta laughed all the louder. And this monster. He would not pass. She knew what she had to do. Her trump card. It would restore her, heal her, at a terrible cost. There would be no coming back from it. There was a bitter irony to be had here. Not so long ago, Naruto had gone berserk for her. Now she'd be doing the same. Screw the gods. If they would have her suffer like this, then they weren't for sake. I abandoned my oath. Her arms swept back, drawing a dark ebony pelt from her pelt. Assassin went terribly still above her. A monster to beat a monster. That's what I'll become. Gasping, the disgraced archer hoisted the pelt high in her bloodied hand. Assassin of Blue! Her voice cracked as she choked on her own blood. Old man of the mountain! You won't touch anyone else. I won't let you. For his sake. For mine. You'll die here. Take heed, madwoman, the specter of death intoned. You walk down a path you cannot return from. If you use that noble phantasm, you won't be yourself anymore. Mad. Atalanta tilted her head nearly horizontal, a wide grin splitting her face. Idiot. We're all mad here. Laughing, she rammed the tainted pelt into her chest. Gold eyes narrowed to hooded slits. Agrius metamorphosis. Her world burned to cinders as the tainted garment crawled across her body. Rationality? Abandon it? Sanity? Discard it? Morals? Ignore them? She threw everything away and held tight to her emotions, binding them as a small silver pearl in her chest. She held tight to it even as everything else became ash in her mind and crumbled to ash. This alone, she would keep. She screamed as her wounds sealed, screamed when her savaged legs restored themselves, screamed throughout it all, her world red from the raw agony of it as her worries became dim and small. In that moment, Archer of Red truly died. From her ruined core, a new berserker was born.
Atalanta stood on restored legs with thoughts unclouded, expression blank as she considered the enemy before her. A new bow manifested in her hand, but she banished it back into the ether with nary a second thought of her treasured tool. No, now was not the time for such a weapon. Now was the time for fang and claw. Now was the time for savagery. As an archer, reason would have slowed her reflexes. Fear should have stayed her hand, bid her to retreat, run away and live to fight another day.
Madness leaked into her thoughts even as it enhanced her body. Run. Why should she run? Her enemy was before her. He'd taken her beloved away, hurt her mate? Unforgivable? There could be no redemption for this. His only recourse was death. She would rip and tear until the deed is done and Berserker was avenged. The thought almost drew a made giggle from her. Now she was the Berserker. Was this what it felt like to lose oneself in madness? To be freed from inhibition? She could see why Naruto espoused the benefits of his class. Still, this assassin of blue had hurt Naruto. Hurt him dearly. Her lips twitched into a snarl, baring her fangs. And for that, well, assassin had to die. Simple, really. You delay the inevitable. Assassin's mask regarded her without emotion. A class change will avail you not. Atalanta's snarl became a small smile. She beckoned. You talk too much. Fight me now. As you wish, deluded creature. He vanished into a whirl of azure flame once more. On your left. Perhaps she truly had gone mad. She couldn't think of any other reason why she might be hearing Naruto's voice in her head. Did the reason matter? No, not really. Her madness brushed it aside, and her body moved accordingly. Atalanta obeyed the voice regardless, and swayed out of the way, allowing that hideous blade to rupture the street rather than her flesh. When the wraith's shield slammed down at her face, the nimble woman evaded it as well. She ducked, swatted the hulking metal aside, then rammed an armored foot into the abomination's chest. Hern. Assassin grunted in surprise and skidded back into the square against his will, blade digging a furrow in the street as he fought to arrest his unexpected momentum. He did not panic. He did not snarl, nor did he shout. He simply straightened his back, readied his shield yet again, and stood tall. This time there could be no mistake the wariness burning in the pits of his eyes. She knew he wouldn't rush in like that again. Good. She didn't want this to end too soon. That would be a mercy. There was no mercy here. He would suffer, as she'd suffered. I will kill you, assassin, Atalanta snarled, slowly. Assassin raised his blade to meet her. You may try, my child. Berserker launched herself at him with a roar, and the world imploded. Author note: cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war. Here we go. I made my choice, and my choice killed him. Yes, it's my fault Naruto died, but even more than that, it's all your fault. Assassin! I'll kill you! Do you hear me? I'm going to rip you apart. I'll tear you into little pieces and eat you. A berserker. Atalanta. Frenzy. She was breaking. Mordred could feel it in her bones. Each swing sent shivers shooting down her spine. Each blast weakened her just a little more. Each flare of her noble phantasm took more from her. She drained all she dared from her poor master. Now she was well into her personal reserves, and even those were beginning to falter. Piss on that. She'd stop when this bitch was dead. Clarent howled in her hands, spitting sparks with every burst. Her rampage had to stop sooner or later. She couldn't keep this up forever. But she had to. To stop now meant death. That damn dirty archer would get away the moment she let up, slip away into the shadows and never return. She didn't favor her chances against that bow of hers. For all her ditziness and prattling on, Artemis was deadly as they came. A moment's respite was all she needed. And yet, if she continued, she would undoubtedly die. Unbidden, her mind recalled a grinning, whiskered face. Her eyes flashed. Clarent came down again. The earth ruptured. Artemis coughed angrily as she emerged from the ruined crater, face dirty, dress hanging in tatters. Stop spamming that thing. It's not fair. It was the wrong thing to say. Heat blazed through Mordred's heart and her dying reserves flared in defiance. A sneak attack wasn't fair. Berserker was dead because of these bastards. Her dream had died with him now, so much cinder and ash in her grasp. And she had the nerve to cry not fair. Clarent descended on Artemis with a wrathful roar, trailing scarlet flames. Eat shit and die, archer. Yeah, no, not happening. Moreover, she'd mocked Naruto. You didn't make sport of a dead man. It just wasn't done. Only a few minutes ago she'd been sneering at her, saying it was too bad he'd died. She'd wanted to kill him herself. The sooner she offered this little parasite, the sooner she could go to the others. If this new faction was bold enough to ambush her, then they'd undoubtedly struck at the others. Distant explosion answered her question. Someone screamed in triumph like the yowl of a furious beast. It sounded a great deal like Atalanta. Tsh, no fair, getting ahead like that. Guess that meant the others were still fighting. Least she could do was her part. Mordred swung her arms back afresh and felt cracks splinter across her face. Her right eye squinted shut in a wince, but she didn't stop. She followed through, trying to ignore the hot flash of fire that burned through her core. Not much left now. This was death. She was dying. How many blasts did she have left? 1, 2, 3. But she would not stop. She would take Archer with her or perish in the doing. And maybe she'd see him on the other side. Clarent Blood Arthur! Her limbs slammed down, bringing a column of red fire with them. Dirt and debris sprayed into the air, kicking up a terrible haze. When it cleared, only a gaping tear in the street remained, a mighty chasm miles deep, with no bottom in sight. Archer's ringing voice called up from within that pit of shadow and flame, sounding terribly cross. "Are you done? Because I'm coming out. And I swear, if you do that again, I will be so..." Mordred grinned and called forth her noble phantasm once more. "Clarence! Blood, Arthur!" An angry shriek pierced the air, and then a golden light swept through it. 'Twas a great swathe of holy radiance unlike any other, one that slammed into her phantasm's wrathful light from the east. Clarence's power faltered for a moment, flickered, then guttered out completely, leaving naught but a sullen red mist behind. Mordred swore and moved to strike again, but here at last her strength faltered. Her arms spasmed, her sword slipped from aching fingers. Her body shuddered as an arrow from Artemis pierced the gloom and found its home in one of her lungs. Pain blossomed in her chest, and she went down on one knee. No, not like this. She wouldn't die like this. Absolutely not. She refused. "So this is where a regal voice spoke unto Mordred's heaving frame. "Your childish antics disappoint me, Sir Mordred." Atramis giggled somewhere out of sight in the smoke. "Ah, you're in trouble now." Mordred swore, tried to rise, and failed utterly. Oh, crap. The Knight of Rebellion craned her neck, knowing who she'd behind her. Sure enough, she wasn't disappointed. Their blades shone like the sun, their regal countenance so much like her own. And yet, more. They were a warrior without peer, a being she had striven toward for all of her short life. Armor clanked softly with every step, blue dress swaying in the wind of her arrival. Cold eyes regarded her, framed by flaxen hair, her kingly mien set in stone. There was no mercy to be found there in her gaze, not even an iota of pity. If there was but one word to summarize the existence of this well-clad warrior, it would be thus: saber. Mordred fumbled for Clarence's hilt. The moment her fingers closed around it, she rammed the blade into the ground. It gave her the leverage she needed to stand. Nothing more. She could barely move. Every breath was fire in her lungs. Well, shit. Looked like this was it, then. Her body was shot, knees weak, reserves nearly empty. Nothing short of a miracle could save her now. Bah? Not like she believed in those anyway. Miracles were nice and all, but she trusted in the strength of her sword arm more than anything else. How strange then that she didn't fear her death. Yeah, she had a couple of regrets, but who didn't? She'd always known this might happen. And yet, she simply wasn't satisfied. "I don't want to die like this." A small girlish voice bleated in the depths of her soul. "I want to see him again." It alarmed her and gave her heart wings. "I want him to be here, with me." She lifted her chin in defiance as her killer stalked closer. Defiance burned in her heart. She wasn't dead yet. She was still alive. She could still fight. Then that blasted holy blade flicked like lightning to a light at her throat, forcing her to be terribly still. "Have you any last words?" "Very well then." The blade moved. "You will die for the sake of my dream." Here at last, Mordred found her voice. "Your dream?" Father frowned. "Yes, I will save our country. Change the past. Make it so that I never pulled that accursed sword from the stone. That kingly mien of hers didn't waver, not for a moment. So that I will never be king, so that Britain may be saved. That is my ideal." Some of Mordred's scorn must have shone through her face, because her eyes narrowed, just a little. "Why do you look at me thus?" Mordred had plenty to say to that, but for some reasons the words wouldn't come to her. Shock stilled her tongue. Now that she stared into those cold, emotionless eyes, she began to understand. Here at the end, she thought she would feel anger, rage. Instead, she only experienced a dull sense of pity. Father wasn't happy. Artoria would never be happy. She would forever chase an empty throne, an unattainable dream. She'd never have any happiness. She would forever be a slave to her duty. She wanted to undo all that she had ever done. In all honesty, it was a little sad. Father didn't know what love was, but she did. The realization startled a laugh from her. Love, huh? Her face burned. Not a bad feeling. Last words, eh? And so she spoke, that the bloody night. You know what? I have two. Screw you. Artoria scowled at her progeny, brow gone stormy. How uncouth. And I wouldn't be any other way, Gak. Blood sprayed through the air. Are you mad? Mordred cackled, reveling in the way Saber's eyes widened as she slapped Excalibur away with her bare hand. It was an utterly foolish thing to do, and it ruined her left hand, but that was fine. Mordred didn't mind another scar, or 3. She could still move. She could still swing her sword. And the dumbstruck look upon Father's face as she staggered back. Well worth it. She'd carry it to her grave. Her laughter redoubled. What can I say? He rubbed off on me. Excalibur rose in a flourish. Then you truly are a failure. Takes one to know one. Artoria stiffened. Another arrow whistled over her head. Artemis again. Damn sniper! Mordred scoffed. Clarence sang and slapped it back her way, drawing a pained cry from the archer's direction. Cheeky bitch felt that wherever she was hiding. Served her right. She wouldn't be feeling anything at all when she was through with her. Some might say it was a good day to die. Mordred disagreed with them. Die. Today was a good day to live. She dove forward with a roar, Clarence weaving a scarlet streak before her. Come on then. If I go down, I'm taking you two with me. 0, 0. Lancer of Blue had a task. Nay, a sacred duty entrusted to her by the Holy Grail itself. A mission she must complete at all costs. Eradicate the Red. They must be pursued, they must be punished, and they must be purged. Those of the Black faction may well be eliminated as well for their association with that aberration. Such judgment would fall to Siegfried. As a former ally, he might yet convert them. He might not. It mattered not to her. They would be purged and the war would start anew. That was all. Assassin and Archer had already taken the fight to the stronger members of the Red faction. It felt to her and her fellows to root out the rest. She did not expect them to come to her. My. The merry sound of enthusiastic clapping filled the air behind her as she stalked through the ruined streets. A Valkyrie! And not just any Valkyrie at that, but a daughter of Odin himself. She turned her gaze to find a fancifully clad man descending a stone-wrought staircase, grinning from ear to ear. You grace us with your presence. He knew her true name, irritating, but merely a trifle. Her task was all. She would not falter here. Caster of Red. She'd been supplied information supplied by the Grail on him and his faction. This one was weak. Hardly any combat potential to speak of. Do you have some quarrel with me, weakling? She readied her weapon. Or have you come here to die? Quarrel. Here at last, his perpetual grin finally faltered. You might say that. What was this aura of dread she felt? He was weak. Harmless. He could not touch her, surely. Your beloved Grail killed that boy. The poet intoned with silken menace. His story was to be my magnum opus, and you slew him. His tale would have been one for the ages. And you lot killed. Lancer frowned. And congratulations. When Shakespeare's smile returned, it baffled the servant of blue. You've made me quite angry. That's a rare feat. And you're right, I am weak. Absurdly so. He feigned a laugh as brittle as his smile. I cannot possibly hope to best you in anything resembling a fair fight, however. I am also a caster." Thus speaking, he bowed and held out his right hand, pages fluttering from the book clutched within. "And I am not without my tricks, nor am I without allies of my own." His grin took on a wicked edge as a pillar of light bloomed in the night sky. Lancer of Blue looked up. Their impassive facade began to crumble as they saw the shining star burning high above. "You can kill me quite easily." Shakespeare's lips peeled back in a snarl. "But what of Karna? Your assassin denied him the rematch he sought. He's quite displeased with you lot." A shadow emerged behind him as a very familiar child stepped out of the alley nearby. "Never mind little Jackie here. You murdered her father. You're in quite the pickle, I dare say." Pickle indeed." They were all eyeing her like starving hounds, ready to pounce at the slightest provocation. Unfortunate, she felt confident she could kill Castor alone. Perhaps even Assassin of Red, though she was admittedly wary of her noble phantasm and the curse that came with it. But even so, she felt confident in her ability to pry victory from the jaws of defeat. Yes, again, 2 servants, she was ready, even willing to fight. But Karna was fresh. Karna looked quite cross. Karna had mana for days. Karna could kill her. Something in her soul quivered. Fresh pages fluttered from Shakespeare's book, bright in the night. "Now then, my dear." His grin stretched yet further, bordering on outright mania. "Let's give you a splendid nightmare." Brynhildr blinked. Once, just once. It was all she had time to do before the world blurred. Her mind whirled, taking in the new scene before her. Her mind broke. The horror Brynhildr beheld there caused her to scream, and the unlikely trio fell upon her. Fury. It filled Atalanta's every thought, dark and cloying, clinging to her mind like heavy tar. She could barely think. Rational thought and strategy required a concentrated urge on her part. She wanted nothing more than to bite with her fangs and rend with her claws. She longed to do nothing more than rip and tear, to rend the foe before her like so much dead meat. There could be no peace here between them. One would stand, one would fall. Her madness raged in a maelstrom, blinding to her all other possibilities and paths. Yet for all that, it freed her. Her lack of reason left her stronger, faster, more durable than ever before. And an archer, Assassin had toyed with her. He'd cut her apart with ease. But as a berserker, she could fight back. And fight she did. Assassin's sword swept down at her head, cast in azure flames in the light of the setting sun. With it, the whispers came again. This time, they sounded almost familiar, like an old friend humming in her ear. Like a gentle hand guiding her body through the proper actions, so too did she trust in it now. It hadn't failed her yet. Faint. Ignore it. She did, and wasn't baited. "He's going to strike at your left flank. Block!" Her bones rattled as she intercepted the bloody blade with a forearm, but she held firm. Good. It had saved her 3 times already. Now it saved her again. Duck and jab at his chest, then go for his legs. He'll be wide open. Atalanta wanted to believe it was him. Truly, she did. But there just wasn't any time to ask. And so she swayed under that evil blade to drive a clawed fist into Assassin's armored chest. His entire torso rang like a bell, and a rare grunt of surprise escaped the stoic servant. She swept at his bare feet before he could bring his weapon around again, forcing him to vanish in another plume of flame. But only for a moment. Her ears twitched, and she managed to survive the follow-up. A wickedly spiked shield caught her in the face, driving her away with a pained cry. Blood ran down her nose. She shook her head against it, uncaring of the wound. "You're going to die, Assassin." The words weren't a threat, but a promise. "I'll kill you. You'll feel every second of it." That horned head inclined a fraction of an inch. She was ready for the rush when it came. Slapped the blade aside, parry, dodged to the inside, striking as his vulnerable joints. Keep him on the back foot. Attack, attack, attack. It was all she could do. All she was capable of. She cared not for her wounds. So long as he fell. So long as he perished. Unlikely. His words stole her thoughts away again, burning them in the fires of fresh fury. You shall fall as Berserker did, child. Your taunts avail thee not. Everything burned red and Atalanta lost herself again. The voice drowned in her rage. Hate, 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 hate. He had taken her mate from her and left her alone, and for that he would pay. The primal part of her mind subsumed all thought again, reducing her to her most basic emotions. The one person she had come to love, and this wretch had taken him away. She'd wanted a life with him. She wanted happiness with him. She wanted children with him. Even caught in the fiery throes of her rage, her mind conjured forth a hopelessly happy image, bright-eyed girls with whiskered cheeks and mischievous little boys with tails. Before her eyes it burned to ash. She would never have known them now. Assassin had stolen her happiness. A low growl fled furrow her lips as she dropped to all fours. Assassin stormed forward to meet her, sword swinging silently. She dove under it, raked her claws across his legs, and leaped away before he could catch her. Sparks skittered into the air and she felt a blast of blue flame warm the back of her neck, but she was already away. Vaulting a crumbling fountain, she whirled and kicked a heavy chunk of stone at her hated foe. He simply raised his shield and swatted it away, but it gave her time enough to carom off a dilapidated building and leap at him again and again and again. Kill him! Her fury drove her on despite her wounds, blood boiling in her veins. Crush him! Tear him apart!
Sure enough, Assassin's wretchedly powerful shield came down to intercept her when she dove at him again. Good. This time Atalanta ignored the voice and threw caution to the wind. She launched herself headlong at the hulking slab of metal and latched on with her claws, all but climbing over it to get at him. Assassin made a noise of discontent and countered with all the skill of his profession, spitting her left shoulder on his sword. Pain. It only fed her anger. The huntress snarled and pushed through, startling the reserved killer somewhat as she gored her limb to get at him. And she succeeded. Gotcha. She grinned through bloody teeth. Eyes blazing, muscles straining, Atalanta got a proper hold of his blade, planted both feet against his chest and pulled. His grip faltered and she tore the weapon out his grasp, ripped it from her bloodied shoulder and flung it away over his shoulder. It was soon joined by Assassin's shield as Atalanta wrestled the skull-plated metal away, sending it skidding down the street.
Credit where it was due. Assassin was just as dangerous without his weapon. Rather than retreat, drove a mailed fist into her face for her troubles. An archer might have balked and tried to retreat to higher ground. The berserker she'd become did no such thing. Her claws raked his face, crackling that ghastly skull that served as his head. With his sword out of play and his shield gone, her ferocity matched his. She caught and clawed at him, uncaring as she tore her palms bloody. Foolishness! You cannot kill me! Atalanta fought on undaunted. She raged like a madwoman and stormed without thought to her surroundings. Slice, bleed, kill. Her heart hammed in her ears, swelling with the insatiable need for vengeance. Hatred surged in her veins, blinding her to all else. Spite sizzled in her stomach, ready to burst free in a roaring thunderclap of thunder that would fell all before her. Finally, she found the opening she sought. A sharp and sudden shove set Assassin off balance. She saw a chance and took it. Her body collided with his. She tackled him and bore him down to the ground, straddling him with her hips.
Maddened golden eyes leered against emotionless blue slits. And for a moment, the light of sanity shone through.
I made a mistake. An epiphany broke like the dawn in Atalanta's frenzied mind. Back then, if I had just listened to Naruto, if we had stood together, we would have won. He would be here, fighting with me. Instead, I let myself get tangled up in emotion. I distracted him. I kissed him. Assassin of Blue made no move to attack. He simply stared up at her. His silence inflamed Berserker's fury further, turning it to a black pearl of rage within her chest. A shriek tore out of Berserker as her clawed fists slammed down. Assassin! King Hassan was no fool. He jerked his skull to the right at the last moment, and only lost a horn for his trouble. Atalanta lost much more. Clenched knuckles barreled into the ground without restraint and shattered. Unable to properly compensate for her newfound strength, her arm buckled. Pain rocketed up her arm, feeding the fire within her. She leaned back, still pinning him with her weight. Her mind was still so far away, consumed now by grief and doubt. The others were nearby. We would have won. We should have stuck together. Why did we split up? Fury filled her and her good arm smashed down, determined to shatter the ghastly death's head grin staring up at her. She missed again as Assassin nimbly tugged his head out of the way. Undeterred, her fist struck deep into the soil and disintegrated at the wrist. This time, Atalanta wasn't able to choke down the cry of pain that fell from her lips. Her innate, bestial regeneration took hold at once, particles of light stemming from her ruined wrists, forcing her limbs to reform. It wasn't enough. I made my choice, and my choice killed him. He died because of me. But even more than that, it's all your fault. Atalanta hunched over and screamed in his face. Here at last, unnerved by her fury, Assassin of Blue turned his gaze from hers. It didn't deter Berserker. She bit down at him, snapping her teeth just over the burning pits that served as his eyes. He slammed a fist into her side. She didn't feel it. Then she drove her skull against his. Once, twice, thrice. He didn't even flinch. Damn him! Damn him! Damn it all! Give him back to me. I cannot. Such is beyond my power. Grief gutted her fury momentarily spent. Atalanta leaned back, but only for a moment. If she could not save him, she would avenge him. Simple. She liked simply. Her forehead smashed down again, her teeth mere inches from his face. I'm going to tear you apart. Black flames burst from her pelt, shrouding her body in shadow. Once my hands heal. Words failed her in her rage. I'll rip you asunder. Her eyes burned a molten gold, all but rolling in her head as her fangs lengthened. Piece by piece. Somewhere deep inside her mind, the very last threat of her sanity snapped, leaving a raving beast behind. Rip you into tiny little shreds and eat you. Assassin's fist lanced up and scythed at her gut. A healed hand caught it and held tight, keeping the death blow at bay. Maddened gold eyes met his as her change continued. There will be nothing left. Metal sprouted from her fur pelt, forming two jet-black pauldrons flowing down into spaulders, threaded by streaks of wild violet across her now armored chest. Fur burned away, replaced by ebony armor. Vivid violet ink scrawled across her exposed flesh, tracing wild lines across her pale skin. Finally, the last of her pelt vanished entirely, not gone but stronger than before, tempered and strengthened, hardened in the lames of her rage. Hardened into mighty armor made for but a single purpose, a singular goal above all else. Atalanta scarcely noticed her transformation. Her world was red, her vision tunneled to but a single point. One command. One singular attack. King Hassan balked. Ascension. Impossible. Attack, attack.
Twin fists smashed down on his head, shattering Assassin's remaining horn to send him skipping across the street. He was still flying through the air when Berserker reappeared and brought her heel crashing into his neck. Something cracked and he hurtled away again. She gave chase, uncaring as he righted himself in the street.
Attack! 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 She was still charging him when she saw his shield return to his hand. He was only just reaching out with the other, about to do the same with his blade, when an emerald star shot across the street and crashed into his right leg. Atalanta's charge turned into a stumble. Here at last, Assassin's seemingly invincible body failed him. His limb faltered, buckling at the knee. He rounded on his aggressor, bringing his shield to bear, only to find his wrist caught in a vicious snare. Something had him by the wrist. No, someone? King Hassan blinked. Your place isn't here, Rider of Red. Achilles rammed a fist into his chest and sent him slamming through a building. Bite me. Despite her frenzied fury, Atalanta felt herself smile. She rather liked these odds. A gleam of steel in the rubble caught her eye. Her grin grew.
King Hassan was still climbing to his feet when his sixth sense shrieked a warning. The armored assassin turned, parrying Achilles and his spear, only to be caught unawares as the violently violet meteor that was Atalanta crashed down on him from high. Realizing his danger, he made to move, but his mangled leg failed him and buckled beneath his weight. Burning blue slits rose to regard the glint of metal in the fading light. He recognized the weapon in her hand well enough. It was his own after all. No doubt she'd snatched it off the ground. Had possessed the means to do so, King Hassan might have smiled.
Clever girl. She fell upon him like a storm, and slammed his sword through his collarbone. For the first time since their battle began, King Hassan roared in pain. His body convulsed once, shuddering in surprise as a dull throbbing ache registered against his muddled senses. Remarkable indeed. How long had it been since he had felt such a sensation? Years, at least. The small part of his soul that was still his own commended Berserker for her ingenuity. His body, however, still acted.
A clawed hand found her throat and hoisted her off the ground.
I commend you for your bravery, but did you really think that would stop me? Maybe not. She grinned and gripped his wrist with both hands, legs kicking in the air. But that will. The distant clatter of hooves was his only warning. Then Achilles' chariot barreled into them both, burning everything a vivid shade of green.
This world has had enough of wishes and heroes. It's time to give it back to people who know how to build things. People who know how to live. People who take their own fate, grasp it with both hands, and never let it go. You, me, we're just monsters of history. Old things, old spirits, long past our ken. It's time for us to go.
And who's going to make me go? You, Naruto Uzumaki, with your bloody fists.
Probably not, but let's just give this one last go, shall we?
Into the light. Life and death. Darkness. Everywhere he looked, nothing but oblivion. So, a man gazed down at his hand. This is what death feels like. This was a land of shadows, a place of pure and unyielding ebony, so black as to be impenetrable. He could barely see anything at all, past his face. He raised an arm, frowning at it. A hand forced itself into a fist, but he felt nothing. No flesh, no blood, no spirit, only will, neither alive nor dead, but trapped somewhere between the realms. Yet he remained. He existed, despite it all. A rueful smile plucked at the corner of his mouth, tugging at whiskered cheeks. Well, all right then. His breath emerged as a plume of steam. Seems Shakespeare was right. That's phase 1 now then. How many times had he come to this place? How many brushes with death had it taken to bring him here? More than he could count. In his first life he'd nearly perished. So many times. Yet somehow, someway, he found a way to crawl out of that pit, claw his way back to life and win the day. He'd always sallied forth without fear. Always. Not this time. He reached across his body and clamped down on his wrist, stifling a tremor. Was he afraid? Undoubtedly so. He was terrified. Panic bleated in his chest like a wild colt thrashing and bucking to break free of its pen. But he didn't run from it. He welcomed it. He held it, embraced it, pulled it into his chest like an old friend. Blue eyes drifted shut. Flame ignited in his chest, spreading red warmth to his limbs. Naruto. Uzumaki rose slowly. wincing but a little as his joints ached. Then he threw his head back and shouted with all his might. "Hey, Holy Grail!" His voice boomed into the silence. "I want a word with you. Let there be light." Shadows shattered like so much brittle glass, replaced by an overwhelming sense of presence. Flowers sprang to life at his feet, the black sky turning a deep and vivid blue, deeper even than his eyes. It was a sight like no other, just the sort you might expect to find in heaven. Berserker grinned up into it with wide eyes, arms spread wide at his side. "To think you would use your own death to force your way in here." A low, melodious voice reached his ears, just behind him. "You truly are an enigma, Naruto Uzumaki. Does death mean nothing to you?" His arms fell, and he turned to face his end. A wry grin plucked at whiskered cheeks. "Death is relative." He pivoted, facing them fully. "It's nice to finally meet you." The Holy Grail was much as he imagined it might be, just as he'd seen in his dreams and more. No, more than that. A pale woman without so much as a stitch of clothing to her name. She was a rare beauty indeed. Keen red eyes regarded him, framed by a flat expression. Her hair was pure as the driven snow, long enough to conceal her breasts from view and trail down her shoulders in equal measure. Bare feet touched upon the field of flowers as she descended from on high to greet him. "Finally!" he grinned. "I've been waiting for this." Blank eyes regarded him as a god might an ant. "You know me?" "I'm Naruto Uzumaki." He started forward at a slow plod, dragging his feet across the floor. "Of course I know you. One step now. I've been fighting and dying for as long as I can remember. 3 steps. I've seen you in my dreams. By now, I know you better than I know myself. And for that, I pity you. 5 steps. You're not even human. You're a thing." The woman leaned back, a small frown marring her lovely face. "I was put here at the dawn of time to grant the wishes of humanity. I'm a little more than a thing." "No," he growled. "You're only a thing. You're only an old killer. You don't make anything. You don't live. You just eat dreams and hide." The growl became a laugh. "You're a coward." His stride lengthened, evolving from a weak limp to a slow walk. Too set in your cycle, too ingrained in your dogma to change anything. He was close now. Close enough to reach out and touch her. Too weak to be anyone. "You're just a machine." "Is there a point to this?" The faintest note of impatience pushed through her impassive facade. "Are you dictating your obituary to me, mortal?" "What if I am?" He barked a short, sharp laugh. "This world has had enough of wishes and heroes." He stepped forward and smashed his forehead against hers. "It's time to give this world back to people who know how to build things. People who know how to live." Blue eyes met red. Neither yielded. "People who are brave. People who take their own fate, grasp it with both hands, and make their own destiny." His hands came down on her shoulders, tethering the two of them together. "You and me, we're just monsters of history. Old things, old spirits, long past our kin." Her hand cracked out, slicing at his face with impossible speed. He caught it by the wrist and stopped it well short. He grinned. She scowled. A wave of invisible force ripped the grail from his grasp and sent him skidding back. Flowers withered and died underfoot as his boots bit into the dirt. He rolled his shoulders and rose to his full height. "It's time for us to go." "And who's going to make me go?" "You," she scoffed. "With your fists? You are but one man. You cannot hope to best me." Rusty laugh fled from his lips. "Probably not, but let's just give this one last go, shall we?" "I will eradicate you." A shadow fell over those holy vestments for a moment, marring its purity with timeless anger. "For daring to raise your hand against me, all mention of your name will be stricken from history." High above the skies darkened as clouds rushed in. "You will be nameless. Forsaken." A pale hand rose, light cradled in its palm. None shall remember you. Even knowing this, you will oppose me. Always, he shrugged. Bigger things than you have tried to kill me, and failed. There are none like me. There will be none after me. I am eternal. And there it was. Naruto hung his head. Crooked grin twisted his face. When he raised it, that grin was just the right shade of vicious. Laughter bubbled out of him, low and poignant. He doubled over and clutched at himself briefly, then straightened with a smile. The Greater Grail's form regarded him with thinly lidded eyes, her face tight with anger. Why do you laugh? Because, he raised one finger, jabbing it at her bosom. I've won. You're already referring to yourself as me, you know. She stiffened, but still he bowled on. You hate me. I have upset your precious order. I've won. No matter what you say here, no matter what you do, it won't change the fact. The Holy Grail went still. When I am finished with you, red eyes flashed, I will kill your friends. I will drag them back to the throne and annihilate them. I believe in my friends, my family. They'll win, with or without me, now. Let's see if a machine can feel fear. Her hands snapped up with a shriek. Die, you wretched berserker. Naruto raced into the light with a roar. He raced into the light.
You know, for a supposed Holy Grail, you're not very smart, are ya? It was a good plan, I'll give you that. You tried your best, tried to course correct the only way you knew how. But oopsie, you made one fatal mistake. You thought I was alone in this. That I had no allies. Killing me didn't just make my friends fight harder, though that was a nice benefit. You don't even realize what you've done, do you?
What nonsense is this? Are you telling me you plan to die? From the very beginning. Lady, I ain't dead, don't you see? I'm not locked in here with you. No, not at all. You're locked in here with us. The storm approaches.
Bury the light.
Jen couldn't remember the last time she'd felt pain. Remarkable, wasn't it? As a saint, she had seldom feared such. Why would she? Her faith gave her strength. The belief that her suffering was for a greater cause. In her first life, she'd placed her trust in a higher power, and went to her death without hope of reward or salvation. All in the belief that what she was doing was just that. She had perished without regrets. Her memories were subsequently carved into the throne. From there, the rest, as they say, was history. The past has a funny way of coming back to bite you. Because now, everything ate. She crashed to the ground, gasping now as a spell slammed into her thigh. Instinct had her springing away despite her latest wound, whirling to parry a wave of dark light that would have stripped her flesh down to the very bones. Just as well, no sooner had she struck the ground than he went in for the killing blow. Even as she tumbled, she whirled and brought her flagpole to bear. No time to counter, much less attack. She could only defend. Motes of golden light sprang into existence around her as she pushed her noble phantasm to the fore. Luminosité éternelle. And nothing happened. Her phantasm was denied her by the Grail.
A bolt of dark spellfire snapped her weapon in half to lance through her chest.
Jan, formerly ruler, staggered, not quite comprehending what had just transpired. Wide aqua orbs swung down to regard the gaping tear in her torso. A trembling hand rose, trying in vain to cover the mortal wound dealt to her. She tried to speak, but words failed her. Blood bubbled up past her lips and ran down her chin. She took a single, tottering step forward. No. Her mind bleated as she swayed on her feet. This isn't real. It can't end like the others. I have to help.
Her body betrayed her and legs buckled. She fell.
That's right. Her opponent cooed as she crumpled to the floor. Struggle before you die. It's no fun when they don't fight back. My, you're not even going to scream. How boring. She tried to rise from where she lay. tried to refute him. The hole in her chest made that difficult.
With the last of her strength, she still scowled up at her killer. A malevolent smile beamed back at her from a handsome visage, framed by a dark eyes and black on white hair.
Ashia Duman, a twisted servant, a wretched caster, and utterly out of her league. She couldn't hope to beat him as she was now. Her support from the Grail severed, her body weakened, soul crumbling like too much dust in her hands. Her mind was willing, but her body was weak. Unlike the others, she was too connected to the Grail, too vulnerable to its predations. Her mana came not from a master, but the system itself. And without that system to support her, to provide the magical energy she needed to sustain herself, she was so very weak. Look at you, ruler. His boot ground down on her head, forcing her face into the mud. Wasted and gasping for air. Such a sad thing to lose faith, isn't it? You need to suffer before you die. She understood now. The Holy Grail didn't care about her past, her motives, any of that at all. It only cared that she had forsaken her duties as ruler, as a pure system designed to fulfill a single purpose, a single goal, nothing more. Nothing more. One might even call it a machine, a living, sentient machine, one that knew how to live, how to hate, how to see its purpose achieved to the exclusion of all else. As such, it could not stand to see its goal thwarted. In another timeline, it would have been corrupted and given birth to a great evil. Here, that purity made it dangerous. That purity spawned the Blue Faction, a member of which was currently killing her. The Lord didn't care about her. The Grail didn't care about her. Her spirit origin was falling apart. She would die and return to throne, all her memories stripped away, then sent back to fight anew. She would become a pawn once more, be turned against her allies like a mindless puppet. It wasn't fair, wasn't right, wasn't just.
Jean grit her teeth.
No.
Really, I should thank you. Duman's grin was nothing short of twisted. You've made the Grail quite angry. Under normal circumstances, it never would have summoned someone like me, or my companions. I'm quite grateful, but you don't get to go yet. That boot ground down as he tittered, drawing a cry from the battered blonde as she struggled beneath his heel. When your friends and family are dead and your last desperate hope is in ashes.
Her tormentor leaned closer, lips brushing her ear.
Then you have my permission to die.
Another voice trickled through. Oh, I don't think so. Her head snapped up.
Power rushed through her, vivid and angry.
Castor blinked, mildly amused. Oh, that's new. Jean's good eye flashed a molten shade of gold. Burn! Her opponent toppled backward with a shriek as their body burst into flame. His boot left her head and Jan surged upright. A dark gauntlet slammed into his chin and hurtled him through a building. In that moment, she couldn't say what happened next. Not that second. That sliver of time. Her body moved of its own accord, dragging itself upright. Something in her chest, her soul, her very spirit origin shifted. Mana rushed in like a great tide, not from the Great Grail, but another source. Entirely. Streaks of ashen white threaded through her once lovely golden hair. Her bloody armor darkened. Flames licked at the corner of her vision, but they came not from her foe. They burned forth from within. With it came a strange weightlessness, a purity of purpose she'd not known before. Never before had she needed something so much, and never known until she'd received it. Laughter ripped through her head, thriving through the connection that had once bound her to the Grail. A new flag manifested before her, joining the new blade belted to her hip. Jeanne caught both, marveling at them in mild wonder. Despite theirs and her appearance, they weren't tainted. They were pure. Just like her. Her mind felt so much lighter now. Wide, golden eyes gazed upon her new form. What is this? Connection re-established. Wait. Class change enforced. She knew that voice. Authority granted. Welcome to the war, Avenger. Jeanne looked left. She looked right. No sign of him. Is that you, Berserker? Where are you? I'm here. His voice was tinny and distant, as though spoke from a great height. Sorry I can't be there in person. Her eyes began to burn. I don't understand. Right. Now I'm speaking to you through the grail. A distant explosion rocked her ears through their length. Managed to pin her down and commandeer the connection for a second. You're bound to me now. Hope you like your new class. It was the only way I could manage to save you. Hang in there. Reinforcements are inbound. A howl of rage pierced the air as Castor thrashed his way free of the rubble. You wretch! I'll flay the skin from your bones! I've got my fight and you have yours. Now get out there and kick his ass. Avenger waded in with a snarl. Will you not die with honor before your god, assassin? Semiramis coughed and wiped a thin line of blood from her mouth. What is a god to a non-believer? Another blow sent her sprawling into the street. Still a god. This beast was no god, just a powerful servant empowered by the Grail. Rider or not, she would crush him. Is what she would like to say, but until her hanging gardens arrived, she really was terribly outmatched here. She raised defiant golden eyes as a shadow fell over her. This close, she could hear the roar of thunder, see the clouds darkening overhead, feel the charge racing through her skin. Yet for all that, she met her death with defiance. She was a queen. She would not weep. She would not beg. Instead, she pushed herself upright. I will not die here, Ivan. A towering fist rose. You will?
On your left, assassin.
Instinct shrieked a warning, to which Semiramis threw herself to the right and tumbled out of the way. Just as well, too, because a sword hurtled over her head. She whirled in time to see a dark-haired man with wild eyes chase it, to behold the flash of sparking steel as it bit through Ryder's twisted flesh. Ivan howled in pain as it swept through his left shoulder, parting his bloated body like butter. An arm struck the ground with an awful splat. Who goes there? He recoiled with a yowl.
Servant, Castor. A new voice spoke over his screams. I have responded to my Naruto summons. Those mismatching orbs found hers again. Retreat, assassin. Semiramis scrambled back. It was the eyes that riveted her. One orb an eerie red on black, the other a stark menacing violet. His expression was carved from granite itself, wrought with fury. A lone hand stretched up toward the skies, as though to beseech the heavens. Lightning rippled through the heavens as something massive moved within. Too late, she realized Ryder hadn't been responsible for blotting out the sky at all. Not in the least.
The newcomer swept his lone arm down. As he did, he uttered but a single word. Ivan the Terrible vanished in a roar of thunder and lightning. 0, 0. Farewell. King. Hassan's blade stopped before it could take Atalanta's head. Held back by a strong hand, it could go no further. Firm fingers clenched, holding the sword at bay. Nice sword you go here, a familiar voice drawled. Real quality craftsmanship. Mind if I take a look at it? Burning blue slits narrowed in confusion. Then narrowed. And you are... Berserker craned her head back, not daring to believe, not willing to hope. And yet, when she turned her head, it was him. Yet not him. The voice was right, but the face was all wrong, scarred and twisted, an eye patch covering one eye, a veritable bounty of swords upon his back. Yet, for all that, the smile still set her herd aflutter. Naruto? Not quite, whiskered cheeks dimpled in a small smile. I'm not your Naruto, just doing an old friend a favor. Call me Saber. Nonsense, Assassin scoffed. There cannot be another. Does it really matter? I am me. The peal of laughter that followed was intimately known to her ears. Let's just say a mutual friend sent me. I hope you enjoyed bullying them. Burning eyes narrowed to absolute slits. I hope you had a real good time. Did you enjoy yourself? Clawed digits clenched, uncaring as the steel burned into his palm. Did you like listening to them shout and scream? Around them, their air boiled with light. I hope you did, because now... Their free fist rose, and behind them, an army roared. Saber! Naruto slammed his head against assassins. It's your turn. I'm sorry for this. Really, I am. I take no pleasure in your death. But sometimes for the dream to live on, the dreamer must die.
Why, you filthy little traitor?
Hero's mission, interlude of Mordred. Clarence! Mordred screamed. She roared as she had never howled before. Clarence swept over her head, bleeding crimson mana into a grief-stricken sigh. All her rage, all her wrath, all her sadness and sorrow went into a single strike. Her helmet flew free, exposing her bloodied face to the elements, and her snarl to the world. Kill her. She had to kill her. Everything would go into this final... X? Not 3 yards away, her enemy mirrored the motion. The very picture of poise. She raised her blade overhead. Always so calm. Always so in control. Always a pawn. Damn her to hell! This wasn't Father. This was a fake. A facsimile. Father had never been like this, cold perhaps, but never a slave to the whims of some stupid grail. The same grail that had taken Berserker away. Her eyes flashed. Maybe she wasn't a fake. Maybe she just sold her soul for the wish. Who knew? Not her. It helped to think of her as an imposter. It made her easier to kill. There was only one path forward now. The only way out. Through. Through Father. Through the enemy servants. Through everything. Drop dead! The word tore out of her in a rasp. You damn dirty fake! Blood, Arthur. Saber's blade slammed down to match her caliber. Riot red plasma clashed with a wave of pure golden light and became a flowing pillar of amber to pierce the clouds. Mordred grit her teeth and pushed on, uncaring as cracks scrawled across her armor. Her arms trembled. A thick line of blood ran down her rose. Still, she refused to yield. She would fight. She would rage. What other choice did she have? To stop now was akin to death. She would be slain or converted. Neither sounded terribly appealing. She could only assume that was the fate of the Black faction. No way was she going out like that. Not a chance. And then, quite suddenly, pain? Wrapped up in her wrath, Mordred didn't see the moment Father's blast overpowered hers, but she felt it all the same. Instinct saved her. She twisted her hips and threw herself aside at the last instant before the rush of holy light could swam up over Clarence and devour her its entirety. Her split-second decision saved her arm and leg. Not so the rest of her. Momentum still had its day. Her feet were ripped from the earth, and then she was twisting, tumbling, crashing through building upon building as the backlash of the blast raked her over the coals. She struck the ground and bounced once, gasped as her wounds reopened, then caught herself on a crumbling wall. Damn it. She righted herself quickly, planted Clarence in the ruined street, and used it to lever herself upright again. This ain't over. I can still. She made it to one knee before the shadow fell over her.
Yield, Esser Mordred. A glistening blade kissed her neck. Cease this futile endeavor. Join us, or die with honor. Her brow drew down in a scowl. Honor. Such a funny word. Knights were supposed to be all about that, right? Kings, even more so.
But this? Remember when I said I wanted to be like you? Yes? Changed my mind. She raised her head and spat blood onto her father's boot. I'd rather die. So be it. Perish.
Someone shoved her aside at the last instant, leaving Excalibur to slash empty air. Mordred glimpsed a worn black cloak, then a streak of gold caught the naked edge wrenching it down, leaving it to slam into the ground. A booted foot stomped down upon it, entrapping the blade for all of a moment. It was enough. It struck Father across the chest, and blurred by. Saber looked down, balked now, as she beheld a chain of smoking paper tags fused to her breastplate. Her eyes widened.
Boom! The explosion that followed is nothing short of spectacular. Even at this distance, it completely eclipsed Mordred's vision. It flung her away like a doll made of straw. And there was no pain. Strong arms caught her at the last, lowering her to the ground as one might a small child. She blinked once, trying to discern the cloaked figure, but the shadows of his cowl hid his face. Until he yanked it back. "You did good," a familiar voice drawled as he gazed down at her. "Let us handle the rest, eh?" She did a double take. Zombie. I see that nickname persists, even across classes. Mordred's jaw came unhinged. His face was the same. He looked exactly like her berserker, but she knew he couldn't be. His outfit was all wrong. Orange and black armor, over which he'd thrown a pale blue half-cape tied to his right shoulder. There was a black ribbon wrapped around his right wrist, like some kind of grand favor from a lady of old. Why the hell did Berserker look like a knight? No, this wasn't him.
She tried to speak, only to wince as her body failed her. "You're not him, are ya?"
Nope. He wagged a finger at her. Pretender. You know, I've always been good at that pretending. He spread his arms wide, grinning from ear to ear. So when the call came, well, of course we got involved. Blink? We? Shh. He held up another finger. It's a surprise. Fiend! Father staggered out of the smoke, wasted and gasping for air. You don't fight with honor. Nope. His lips curled up as he gazed at her scorched armor. Honor gets you killed. Speaking of which, Berserker sends his regards in. Excalibur flicked out. Yield, this is your only warning. Lone finger rose. Then you shall die like the rest. No. Pretender tilted his head. I won't. Look out behind you. Saber brandished her holy blade with a snarl. I shall not fall for such a ruse. Blade slammed through her back and burst out her chest, spattering them in blood. Artoria didn't have time to react. The strike was instantaneous. The betrayal so complete, so wholly unexpected, that she scarcely had time to call out, much less defend herself. She'd only barely begun to comprehend the danger here, own imminent peril, before something tore forth from their chest. Red spattered her vision as the blow struck her from behind. She froze, transfixed on the spot. Mordred flinched at the sight. It was a mortal wound, a great strike that tore and through Saber's body like no other, staining the street a ghastly crimson. Still, she couldn't believe it. Her face twisted in a rictus of surprise, then revulsion as she staggered, slumping to a knee. She looked back, eyes wide. Why, you filthy traitor. I'm sorry, sister. Pale hands came up to cup her cheek. Sometimes for the dream to live on, the dreamer must die. Those hands closed around her neck and twisted. Mordred closed her eyes at the last instant. As such, she didn't see the moment Father died. But she heard the awful crack that followed, the dull sound of an armored body striking the floor. Only then did she dare open them again. The woman, Father's killer, was different. All wrapped in black silk with a dark crown atop her head, she was the very picture of bloody poise. A veil hid her face, but as she looked on, that too was peeled aside to reveal a pale visage. Bright eyes gazed back at her, framed by ashen hair and a smile bordering on sheer euphoria. Mordred blinked. Now wait just a second. What's that witch doing here? No, that wasn't quite right. She was different than the hag she'd glimpsed in her dream, for her existence had been supplanted by another. This was Morgan Le Fay, and yet the dark bow binding her pale hair was all too familiar. She was an aberration. Something that should not, could not exist in this era. An aberration, And yet she did. Aqua orb swept past her and alighted upon Pretender. Widened. Husband? Pretender sighed. Here we go. The blonde in question raised a hand. Hey, honey. Morgan didn't move. She blurred. Casting Saber's dying form aside, she vaulted forward and slammed into him. There you are, there you are, there you are. She nuzzled his chest like a madwoman, all but pressing herself up against him. I knew you'd be here. To hell with the Grail. Let's run away together. Mordred blinked. Once, twice, thrice. What the actual hell? This is it. The last breath. The end of our battle. And the start of a new one.
But whose is it? Mine. Yours.
Let's find out. Last breaths. Class change accepted, son? The Great Grail could not understand. It wasn't that it didn't want to, really, she did, but she found herself simply unable to comprehend what the hell was happening anymore. Why did the servant continue to resist? How long had they fought in the void? How many times had she slain him? And he? Her. All questions she no longer had the answers. She'd lost count ages ago. Time moved quickly here. Too quickly, some might say. What felt like days in this void were mere minutes for the outside world. She'd killed him more times than he could count. It should have stuck by now. And yet, it hadn't. She'd burned through so much of her mana, but his was running low, too. It had to be. He hadn't taken that much from her, surely more. The Grail's head snapped back as a giant golden axe drilled her right between the eyes, slamming through her skull, blood spraying through the air, staining her pristine white robe and the flowers at her feet. She tottered back, caught herself on one foot. Another life spent. More mana wasted. Her good eye rolled down to glare at him. He grinned back, the grin of madman. I'm sorry, he cooed at her. Does it hurt? Looks like it does. Her temper slipped its leash in a shower of sparks. Don't get cocky, you inferior creature. With but a thought, a javelin of holy light ignited in her hand. She pivoted and slammed it into his chest in recompense for his temerity. It was a killing blow, sure as the sun. Her holy spear pierced his heart and slew him in an instant. His grin didn't falter. Even as he bled out all over her, a hand reached up to grasp her shoulders and reel her in. Idly, she wondered if this would be the one. Was he done? Was he finally spent? His lips brushed her ear in a whisper, delivering his last words, his final shuddering breath. Triumph bloomed in her heart. Yes, yes, at last he'd finally perished. She felt him smile against her. Class change accepted. Assassin. No. His body burst in her arms, showering her with white-hot mana hotter than the sun itself. There was no time to dodge, much less defend herself. The sheer heat from the explosion ripped the Grail clean off her feet and flung her back into the field of flowers, souls crushing countless lives in her wake. She couldn't even lay there and allow her wounds to finish healing. She'd already learned that lesson the hard way. She righted herself quickly, knowing that to linger meant death, but where was? Motion danced in her peripherals and the Grail gurgled, clutching the black dagger now wedged in her throat. You! It's a shame, you know. Assassin sauntered her way wearing a death's head smile. You're trying so hard, but you still haven't figured it out. Should I give you a hint? Ack! There it was again, every time he died. Each time she killed him. He changed classes and gained a new form. She hadn't even heard of some of these classes. What's wrong? The killer hummed, already twirling a new knife over his knuckles. Cat got your tongue. I mean, I know there's a knife in your neck and all, but come on, at least try. Honestly, you're worse than Gilgamesh. Least I was able to get along with her in my world. But you? He turned a thumb down and slashed it across his throat. You're just a pitiful bitch. I almost feel sorry. Bullying you. Almost. Damn him. Anger sparked in the Grail's heart. She used it to tear the knife free and fling a fireball at him. He swayed aside with preternatural grace, flickered, and suddenly found a second knife in her chest. Just like that, another life slipped through her fingers, taking more mana with it. Her body healed at once, but the wound to her pride, one of many, continued to fester deep in her soul. 2 more lives lost. She was getting weaker and he knew it, the utter bastard, but so was he. Sooner or later, the stalemate would break. Her fist stabbed upward, seeking his face with all the speed of a falling star. Oops! Assassin grinned before it could hit. Time to tag! Her fist struck an unyielding wall of steel. Class change accepted. Shielder. That was all she heard before a towering mass of metal, a bloody shield of all things, bashed her in the face and rang her skull like a gong. Once, twice, thrice. On the 4th, she managed to hook an arm around the cold steel and wrench it aside, fling an open light-filled palm in the new servant's face, and wah. Die. Naruto toppled backward, a smoking ruin where his head used to be. She didn't stop there, couldn't, for to stop would give him yet more time to grind her down and escape from this place. A sweep of his legs sent his corpse crashing down to the field. She rained napalm down upon him, annihilating it to the last atom. He couldn't keep burning lives like this. Each death snuffed out an incarnation of himself. Eradicated it, kept him from using it again. She had seen to that. I will burn your very bones to ashes. She shrieked at the crater she'd left him in, her voice a shrill caterwaul. There will be no memory of you left in the throne. A faint chime in the back of her head was her only warning. Class change accepted. Avenger. Her eyes bulged, and her body bucked, as 1,000 cursed spikes burst from the field to skewer her stomach. Her body was hauled into the air, each slaying her time and time again. 12 lives annihilated in an instant. She swept her right arm back and caught at his blackened cloak, but the blasted boy was already gone, vanishing into... Wait, where had all this mist come from? Why couldn't she see? Class change accepted. The words confirmed her worst fears. Watcher. An ominous red glow burned through the mist. She saw a crimson spear held aloft, burning with baleful light. Our turn, is it? All right. An older voice hummed in the smoke. We've got to get back to our war. So here, you can have this. The Grail couldn't move. Those horrid stakes still bound her in place. She was healing, but far too slowly. She tried to raise a hand, already knowing it would be in vain. A furious scream tore past her lips, only to be bitten of by a deeper, more feral snarl. Another voice echoed it, a woman's voice that filled her with fear. Gay bog alternative. Twin spirals of red death ripped the Greater Grail free from the stakes to pierce her heart. They slew her 100 times over. She felt each demise tear at her reserves before she finally got her hand on the spears and crushed them in her grasp. The cursed weapon crumbled away and the mist faded, exposing the grinning incarnation who'd hidden within it. There was a woman standing there beside him, one hand on his shoulder. Blank red eyes gazed upon her. I believe that's enough, my student. Scathach turned and clapped hands with companion. Tag. Together they vanished into motes of golden light. The Greater Grail clawed herself upright, ready to ward off another attack. For once it didn't come. It took her a moment to realize why, to take stock of what was happening. Her legs were trembling. She could feel cold sweat upon this body's brow, hear the tortured beating of her still wounded heart. She paused to take a mental tally of her reserves. 9 lives. She had only 9 lives left. 9 of what had once been millions. She cupped her face in trembling hands and took a deep, shuddering breath to center herself. What would happen once she lost them all? Would her consciousness cease to be? No. Mustn't think that. Thoughts had power here. Wishes, even more so. She must remain strong. To falter for even an instant would surely spell her doom. Another chime filled the gloom. It sounded like the rasp of a scythe to her throat, heralding her doom. Class change accepted. Caster? She pivoted with a snarl. Berserker had swapped yet again. She found herself facing a man in flowing robes of white and red. In his right hand he cradled a black ringed staff. A mighty golden fox emerged from his back and clung to him, hunched over his shoulders like some protective guardian from the age of mystery itself. Neither made any move to attack her. She hissed at them. "What have you done?" She flung out an arm, hurtling a torrent of ice his way, only for him to sway out of its path. "How are you doing this?" "Simple." Caster wagged a finger at her, as a disappointed parent might their child. "You cheated with this blue faction of yours. So that is to say we, cheated right back?" His free hand rose, tapping a finger to the side of his skull. "Berserker had to be choosy, you know. Pulling our other selves across time and space was no easy thing, even with your power. Some of us were masters, some were servants, others were neither. If any of us die in here, that's it." He snapped his fingers. "They're dead, once and for all. Can't be resummoned." They understood that risk, but still they answered the call. His staff tapped down. "But I'm not a battle-happy lout like the rest of them. I believe in mercy, in second chances, you know. This is your last chance to surrender, Grail." Those warm yet cold eyes pierced her very core. "You let Berserker go, we back off. Let bygones be bygones and you get to live. But if you don't," he blew out an angry breath, almost irritated to even say it, "then you will die. You'll kill me." The Greater Grail drew herself up, hate in her heart. How dare he? The nerve, the gall, to condescend to her like this. "What could you possibly do to me?" "Quite a few things, none of them pleasant." She struck him with a bolt of lightning. Caster grunted, but stood his ground. The next bolt that came found itself parried her way. She slapped it aside in turn, hissing in pain as her palm smoked. "This is my world. I am the master of it. Not you. Never you."
"All right," he sighed. "I warned you, Kurama."
The great fox on his back swelled into something monstrous, looming large over them both. Black light burst from its jaws. Consumed by fury, the Greater Grail tried to deflect it, and failed. Her barrier shattered. Flesh burned as she crumpled to her knees. She felt another one of her lives crumble, her might taking a dive. It took more time than she would have liked to restore herself. Her skin burned black, her body quivering on the ground as she struggled to muster her mana. 8. Lives now. Her form shrank a little, and her power plummeted with it. "No," she hissed and clutched at her thinning shoulders. "Not like this."
"Oh ho, Tilda." Caster's smile appeared through the smoke, then the rest of him as he leaned forward to regard her dwindling. "That's interesting. Now you're losing power as you lose your lives. Sadly, it seems my time is up. I've got my own war to finish, and Rin to rescue. Tag."
He unsummoned himself before her very eyes. In the same moment, the voice chimed again. "Class change accepted. Foreigner." Someone finger-tapped the Grail's shoulder. Another class. And who was that little girl sitting on his shoulder? Why was she so pale? Why did she have horns? Why was she smiling? Why did her chest hurt? Oh, the broken Grail looked up and understood. Blinked hard. Now, that was her heart she was staring at. Why was it in the girl's hand? No, surely she wouldn't. She tried to speak, tried to plead with her, beg her to put it back. But no words would emerge from her mouth. She reached for it in vain, lips parting. "No." The girl crushed it in her fist. Her body spasmed, toppled to the floor, and shriveled a little more.
7 lives left.
Now, Kaguya. Foreigner chided his companion. That's very rude. Don't care. She's mean. The girl giggled and clapped his open hand. Together, they returned to their world with one final world. Tag? Class change accepted. Gunner. With that ominous chime, a pair of boots entered the Grail's vision. A foot nudged her, rolling her over onto her back. She glimpsed flinty blue eyes in the waning light of the moon, 2 hands weaving intricate seals. How is this class a gunner? It had no weapons. Unless... Oh, this was going to hurt, wasn't it? The incarnation didn't even deign to speak. He just unloaded on her, perforating her body with countless jutsu. 12 bloody wounds. 6 lives, a third of what she had before. Her form shrank that much more, falling back through time. Pitiful, she heard him grunt as he walked away. You're not even worth my time. Class change accepted, came the chime, heralding a new torment rider. Ahoy! What do we have here? With a groan, the Greater Grail looked up and saw the same blasted blonde from before. Minute changes in his clothing and appearance. Things she scarcely noticed. A crimson fox sat on his shoulder. It looked down at her as one might a juicy steak, licked its lips. She screamed and kicked out with her legs, clambering backward like a drunken crab. She had to stand, fight back. This was death. She was going to die. For all her frantic speed, the fox was faster. It hopped off Ryder's shoulder and lopped toward her, growing larger with each passing moment. Back! Stay back, you foul beera! Giant jaws clamped down on her body and tore it in half. 5 lives. No, 4 now. It had stomped down on her while she was recovering, taking another. She felt so small now, tiny, wretched, little more than a girl. But she would not beg. She refused to beg. She would not meet. Her heart quailed as she stared up at an absolute giant, rippling with muscle and long, tawny blonde hair. His eyes were the purest of red. Another berserker. No, that couldn't be right. She knew every class, and this, her archives told her, did not exist within them. He didn't say a word. He just looked upon her, and something in her quivered. The chime came on again, damning her. Class change accepted error. Error, beast? Impossible! Lightning sparked in her fist. She flung it at this creature, this abomination that shouldn't be here. He exhaled, breathed, and the magic bounced back, striking her dead where she lay. Struck by her own spell, how humiliating. Mercifully, she didn't see his follow-up kick. She only felt it snap her neck to the side, and all the pain that came with it. He stomped down again and again, not once speaking a word. Another life trickled down the drain. 3 lives left. It was getting hard to think. She felt so fragile, so frail.
A giant hand closed around her robes and hauled her upright.
Weak. He all but spat the word like a curse. I was promised a challenge. There is no worth in killing a child. Child. You are not of humanity, therefore. I do not love you. Wallow in your despair. He flung her down and left her there, unsummoning himself like the rest in a shimmer of golden light. The Greater Grail looked down, unable to speak, and saw the source of her scorn. Gone was her splendid body. In its place lay that a child, cowering in tinted robes that had once been her own. Had she truly lost so much strength that she'd regressed to such a pitiful state? No, it wasn't fair. Unfair, unfair, unfair.
Thin limbs kicked against the ground as she threw a tantrum. What have you done to me?
Much to her chagrin, the universe answered. Class change accepted. Faker. I struck a bargain. The newcomer's eyes burned a soulful blue. This one looked harmless compared to the other incarnations, but his words were a blade all their own. My life for theirs, their lives for mine. You've killed me so many times, and I've been killing you for a while now. But each time one of us dies, this world becomes unstable, just for an instant. His fingers made a pinching motion, a second, a single sliver of eternity. He tilted his head to one side, producing an ominous crack as he contorted in a way that shouldn't have been possible. What do you think I've been doing with all those seconds? Realization broke like the dawn. No. I have more lives than you can possibly imagine. So do you. But unlike you. He threw his head back and spread his arms wide, the air behind him shimmering like some grand curtain in the breeze. I have friends on the other side. And what do you have? Nothing. It's almost laughable, really. You think you're such a clever one. He pivoted and planted both hands in his pockets, grinning fit to burst. And maybe you are. Yet you made one fatal mistake. No. She slammed forward, launched herself up at him, and tore his head from his shoulders. His severed skull still grinned at her anew. You believe your way is the only way, and to hell with the rest. Which is why you'll die alone. She slammed it down at her feet, but instead of blood, it shattered like brittle glass. So did her voice. No. Yup, and we'll end this war without you. A knife slammed between her shoulders, and he vanished like the rest, reaping another life from her in passing. 2 lives, so cold now, so afraid. Class change accepted. It was almost a whisper in her mind, a sign of how far she'd fallen. Archer. Sorry about this, Lil Miss. A low voice drawled somewhere to her right, almost out of sight. But I've got to get back to the missus, so don't have time to play with you. Eat this. Khalidbog. She didn't even see the arrow that killer her. One moment she was turning, glimpsing a man clad in merry blue on black. He had a wicked-looking bow, one he was even now drawing back. Back, further back still. And what was that he'd knocked to it? An arrow. Faint whistling sound reached her ears. And then... Thoom. There was pain. Alrighty, that's my part done. Tag! 1 life. The Grail crawled out of the burning crater he'd left her in, wasted and gasping for air. She couldn't muster so much as a spark to stop him. The next blow would surely slay her.
Class change accepted. Ask not for whom the bell tolls, for it tolls for thee. Those 3 words were a death knell in her mind, and this time, they came from behind her. Ruler.
And then she heard it.
The Greater Grail heard the chime come again, and with it came the mournful howl of a dreadful weapon catalogued in the deepest archives of her memories. She managed to force herself, made it to her hands and knees now, before her body finally failed her. Scarlet light swirled overhead, somehow deeper and darker than anything those cruel spear could ever conjure. A tremor of fear shot down what passed for her spine. She couldn't bring herself to move any further.
The words that followed damned her as much as the cackle that echoed it. A whimper escaped the little girl's lips. No, not him. Anyone but him. In what reality had Berserker encountered that king? How had he consumed Gilgamesh of all people? Raucous laughter tore through her ears, drowning her in terror. Rejoice, mongrel, I bring you a gift. The light swelled anew, casting her in countless shadows. The eternal freedom of oblivion. Here at last, the now lesser Grail looked up. She immediately wished she hadn't. The light descended. A wail tore out of her in the face of it. Please, no, I give up! Stop. I don't want to die. The Grail's scream was swallowed by 2 words. Enuma Elish.
You are no god of mine. Shoot down the gods.
The blue faction had begun to falter. One by one, powerful servants fell.
Only a handful remained. But the battles raged on. Ever onward.
0, 0.
Jack stabbed Lancer. She stabbed her again and again and again, thrusting her knife deep into her torso, heedless of Brynhilder's cries still lost in Shakespeare's noble phantasm as she was in the subsequent pleas for mercy that followed in their wake. Mercy. What mercy? Her side hadn't shown Papa any mercy. Why did she deserve any?
And so she ignored her. Ignored Lancer of Blue's wails for mercy. Ignored the blood.
Ignored it all.
She kept stabbing, for Papa, for herself, for her friends until Lancer stopped moving. Then she stabbed some more. Up. Down. Down and up. Up and down and up. Rip and tear, until it is done. 0. Oh my, Semiram sneered as she dug her heel into Ryder's face. Not so smug now, are you? The servant of Blue growled impotently up at her, wasted and gasping for air. Her scowl deepened as she ground their face into the mud. Perhaps she relied on Naruto's kindness, his reluctance to kill in cold blood, his willingness to give second chances. She twisted her heel, drawing blood now. Let me assure that I subscribe to no such niceties. Damn you! His sneer became vicious indeed.
What's this? Nothing else to say, then die.
Atalanta, come out, wherever you are. Were she still in archer class, Atalanta might have taken Artemis up that challenge. Even now she found herself tempted to rush out and destroy the demented servant. Hunting her down. It was a powerful need, one she almost couldn't deny. But she did. She had to. She must. Artemis wanted her exposed, the better to feather her with arrows and bring her low. She couldn't face her in a ranged battle. They both knew that. Any attempt to do so on her part would render her a human pincushion, and that would be the end of it. Instead, she ducked behind the cover of a ruined building, trusting to her new instincts and body to heal her wounds. Atalanta gnashed her teeth. Golden eyes considered the gaping tear in her arm. It closed before her eyes, far faster than it had any right to. Whoa. Huh? Maybe Naruto had the right of it. Berserkers really did have an absurd luck stat. Still, regeneration wouldn't save her if she took an arrow to the head. She was stronger as a berserker, faster, but with her bow gone, she lacked a ranged equivalent. Fighting from afar was impossible. She had to get in close if she wanted to win this. Artemis knew that, and she was making it damnably difficult. The longer this fight dragged on, the more dangerous it became already. She could hear other servants fighting out there, red against blue. She would find no help here. Naruto's allies were busy holding off the rest of the blue faction. No telling the outcome of their battles there. Likewise, she had no way of knowing their fates. If she didn't finish this soon, her allies was going to be swamped by enemy reinforcements. She couldn't keep running forever, but what choice did she have? But the worst part of it all, the part that absolutely galled her.
Artemis. She raised her voice, hollering from cover. Is this what you're really like?
Like, what? Her former mentor crooned back. Like this. She'd always imagined Artemis as being above it all, a being of peerless grace. Not this utter ditz of a harlot with that strange, silent, fuzzy bear on her shoulder. She'd been cooing at it for the last 5 minutes, almost as if it were alive. Not once did it speak back to her. Utter ditz indeed. Why are you doing this?
A merry giggled answered. I dunno, why am I fighting? Because it's fun, maybe.
The words served as a reminder. Ditzy or not, this version of Artemis was still deadly. Not to mention her.
I see you. Ah, you're such a mess.
Atalanta's head snapped up. Above. Her. Tri-star amor mio. Not that bloody noble phantasm again.
Atalanta flung herself out of cover, and well that she did, just as an azure shaft of purest light whistled past, raking across her arm. It was enough. The world went sideways as the side effects set in. She gagged and fell to a knee, swearing loudly. That settled it. If she survived this Grail war, she was swearing off every godly thing in the world and having it out with Berserker. So she swore.
Hold still and let me convert you. This time the goddess's giggle sounded tinny even to her own ears. Empty. False. Hollow. You'll look much better in blue, Atalanta. Move or die. Move.
Arrows arced in again. She forced herself up and away, dancing between them like a ghost. On and on she ran, vaulting over cover through fire and flame. But there were only so many she could avoid. One struck her shoulder and another her knee. She went down, head hanging. Everything was going fuzzy. Her head felt like it was filled with cotton. Couldn't think straight. Good kitty. Artemis vanished her bow and sashayed after her, hips swaying. Now just let me sever that pesky tether of yours. A hand came up under her chin, forcing her to meet her gaze, and see the cruel smile lurking on her lips. Even her once vibrant blue eyes seemed lifeless somehow. You'll feel much better once you forget AAALL about Naruto.
His name stirred her. The fog in Atalanta's head cleared with startling dispatch. Forget. She didn't want to forget. She mustn't. She'd made a promise. Clawed fingers bit down around Artemis's wrist, drawing blood. The goddess maidservant granted her a strained grin. Hey now, that hurts, Atalanta. The clenched knuckles that barreled up into her face and broke her nose probably hurt even more. Atramis gasped, only to find herself reeled in again for a second punch. A third, now, followed by a fourth. It was a good showing, Atalanta thought, right up until she remembered Artemis could fight without her bow. She'd forgotten, but she remembered now as an uppercut blasted her backward. She righted herself, caromed off a crumbling wall, and lunged back in. Artemis met her with a flinty smile. Two punches landed in unison. Their heads snapped back as one.
From there it dissolved into a delirium of madness, blood and violence.
They raged back and forth with no grace, no decency, only savagery. Sense and reason had no meaning here. It was all madness and chaos and shouts. There was no salvation here, only damnation, destruction, disaster. It couldn't even be called a proper fight anymore. They were too busy trying to hurt one another, seeking only to cause pain. You are no goddess of mine. Atalanta turned her head from a punch and spat. I reject you.
Artemis' smile grew thin. You're so silly, Atalanta. Take that back.
Never. In that case. She swayed aside from a clawed fist, leaped away, called her bow back to her hands, and pointed it toward the heavens. An ominous whine arose from her weapon to set her teeth on edge. Artemis's smile gained a crazed edge as she drew her bowstring taut. Then let it loose. You can die. Countless bolts of light hurtled into the clouds, arcing up, and what goes up
must come down.
Atalanta had already turned tail and fled from the noble phantasm by the time it reached her. There was nothing else she could do. The air was full of light, countless arrows arching down from on high. She pushed herself further still, tumbling into cover, flinging herself out of it, running as hard as she possibly could. Not fast enough. An arrow struck her leg and she went down with a furious hiss. Golden eyes squeezed shut, refusing to look at the end, unwilling to see her world bathed in light. Her last thought was that of an apology, for her allies, for all those she had failed, for the brash blonde berserker she hadn't been able to save. Naruto, I'm sorry. She closed her eyes and braced herself for the pain. It never came. Artemis cried out suddenly, a noise of such outrage that it stilled Atalanta's soul. Without warning, the barrage died off. The battered berserker looked up, shielding her face with an arm, utterly baffled. A large figure stood over her, arms spread wide, countless arrow shafts jutting from his broad back, and arms besides. And yet still he stood tall. Atalanta blinked, scrubbed at her eyes with the back of a bloody hand, To no avail. It was too bright. She couldn't see her savior's face. Well, that's some welcome. An all too familiar voice rang in her ears. Really helped me work that kink out of my back. With but a roll of his shoulders, the arrows impaling him dissolved. His wounds closed immediately thereafter. Atalanta's heart backflipped in her chest. Naruto. No. It couldn't be him. He was gone. Who was this then? Another stranger with his face. Hey, why the long face? A golden limb reached down for her. You look like you've seen a ghost. She was looking at him right now. Trembling fingers reached for his hand, afraid he'd dissolve into mist. Imagine her surprise then when this ghost seized her palm and hauled her upright. New fur coat, eh? Red eyes stared back at her. Not a bad look for you. You even changed your class on your own. Guess we match now. Berserker? For it was him, but not as she knew him. Not entirely. His eyes were different, a calmer shade of slitted scarlet rather, and his smile brighter than the sun itself. Or maybe that was his body. He shone so brightly, so very bright, that it made it almost painful to look at him. But still, alive. He was alive.
She hiccuped a little. Is that really you?
Sure is. He patted her head. Everything's gonna be all right now. Naruto? Artemis tutted behind them, considering him as one might an apple gone rotten. So you're the one she threw everything away for. I never thought I'd meet you face to face. Still, her dainty smile grew into a dark grin. I'm glad you're here. A miracle like that won't happen again, and there's nowhere for you to run this time. I'll kill you myself. Naruto twitched. Heh. Atalanta should have been prepared for what came next. After all this time, she'd known Berserker as one herself now. She really should have. Naruto was a right unpredictable bastard, but she thought she at least had the measure of him. He threw his head back and laughed at the sky. The sheer intensity of it startled Atalanta. The hackles on the back of her neck rose. Times like these served as a poignant reminder. A cardinal rule. Berserkers weren't sane, and neither was he. Run. Naruto stopped laughing abruptly and turned to face Artemis, whiskered visage eerily blank. Who's running? Where? And why? Crunch. There was no word beyond that savage shout. No warning. Just that awful sound as Naruto's clenched fist burst out of Artemis's back. He'd impaled her right through the chest, obliterating her spirit core. She gasped, eyes wide. Trembling hands reached down to grasp the golden limb impaling her. To no avail. Blood bubbled past her lips and ran down her chin as she struggled to speak. Why, you? That's not fair at all. Naruto tore his limb free. She fell to her knees and smiled. Atalanta tensed, expecting one last gambit. She needn't have worried. Ah, I can finally think straight again. Artemis turned a trembling, quivering look upon them. Thank you. You've no idea what it's like, having no control of your own body. It gets into your head, make itself the center of your world. All you want to do is please it. Her smile became a pained one. Finish me, please. Let me die. I see. Naruto made a face. So the orders persist even after the Greater Grail's been dealt with. They do. The wounded archer slumped down onto her side as she began to dissolve, not caring to cradle the hole in her chest. It hates you so much. You'll have to kill all of us to make it stop for good. I will. Good, she sighed. I can go be with my darling again. Misty blue eyes sought hers. And Atlanta. She blinked quickly, scarcely trusting herself to speak in light of this revelation. Yes? Artemis's smile became an impish one. You chose well. He's got a nice tush. She sputtered, face flaring red. Goddess! Artemis dissolved into motes of golden light with a smile. They soared up into the sky and vanished as she looked on. Soon enough, they were gone from sight entirely. Silence reigned over their portion of the ravaged battlefield. Now that things were calm, all the burning questions came roaring back. And with them something else. She walked to him, slowly at first, then quickly, all but running up to embrace him. Her head hit his chest, and she held tight, letting her tears fall at last. A great heaving sob tore its way out of her. "You died," she whispered at this Naruto, who may not be her Naruto, in a hoarse rasp. "I saw you die. I thought you were stuck fighting in the Grail." "I did. I got better." He stroked the small of her back and answered those questions, each in order with a rueful smile. "Forced a class change on myself before I beat the damn thing senseless." That made her ears twitch. She pulled AR head from his chest and looked up at him. "What are you now?" "Got myself a double class like Semiramis." He winked her way. "I'm still Berserker, but also ruler now, seeing as Jan gave up her class." "Is that why you're glowing?" He laughed at that remark. That's a bit of a long story." Another thought occurred to her. "Use," said destroyed the Grail. "Then how are we still here?" "I said I beat the Grail." He held up a finger. "The Grail system's still intact, which means it can grant a wish, but as for that rotten personality it had, well, I rooted it out and reset it." There was something in his words just then. "What do you mean?" "Well, I battled her, beat her, and I broke her. Like so." He opened his cloak and swept it aside. Atalanta gasped as she saw the small child strapped to his chest in a crude leather harness. Her bright red eyes, pale skin, and white hair. She couldn't have been more than 2 years old. The child's face screwed up in a curious expression as she regarded her for a long moment, trying to puzzle out her identity. The ex-archer blinked right back. Who is this small lost child? Naruto gave the little bundle of joy a nudge. "Say hello, Ilya." Atalanta choked. "You went and named her." "Sure did. She's her own person now." Abruptly, the child's red eyes lit up like so many fireworks. Little pudgy arms reached for Atalanta. "Mama!" "Ma!" Atalanta squeaked. Oh dear, Jack was going to be jealous.
"I am what you made me. Run them down."
Fran ran. What remained of the black faction burned behind her. A spiraling monument of cinders. A pyre to her friends. A funeral to a future that would never come. The air stank of melted copper and scorched circuits. The sky wept black snow. Ash that did not fall, but crawled, coiling like hungry worms through the high twilight. The war was over, not won, not lost. Just ended, in the way rot ends a once living thing. No more orders. No more war councils.
No more sweet, clumsy calls with shaking hands, trying to make her smile through broken ribs and dripping wires.
Gone. Only the scent of ash on her bolts, smoke in her eyes res, and the taste of ionized fear on her tongue. A tongue that so seldom formed words, but now screamed silence into the void with every breath. She didn't know who gave the command to burn it all. Maybe no one had to. Perhaps the world had simply tipped over the edge. They'd all been taken, one by one, converted to the blue.
All of the original Black faction, all the thinkers and the madmen and the poets in armor who thought the Grail could save anything. Not the fools who believed in a better war.
No, this was something else. Rogue splinter bred from the corpse of old ideologies. From the marrow of a dream that had been eaten out from the inside and left hollow. It wore Siegfried's face, but not his heart. That was how she knew. And in that smile when it looked at her, it was not a knight she saw. It wasn't even a man. It was the echo of a dragon that had forgotten how to die. Golden scales beneath a soldier's skin. Eyes like sunless furnaces. A sword that didn't swing, but it consumed. He was their banner now, their blade. A paladin of extinction baptized in artificial fire. No, not him. Siegfried was good as dead. It wore his face. And when it looked at her, it smiled. Run. So, Fran ran. Her legs, battered with bruises, stitched with agony, moved like dying clockwork. But she ran. Her feet skidded across burning cobblestone, sparks rising in her wake like fireflies chasing a dying god. Every step tore her further from the girl Calls tried to build in the shape of a person. Every breath sucked in poison, tainting her heart. Every pulse was a countdown. Her body screamed, groaned, trembled, cracked.
Torn from the last battle, from the chain lightning that had ripped through her like a lashing god's fury. But she didn't stop, couldn't stop.
The Grail had been usurped. Something had taken its place. She didn't know what or who, only that it terrified her, shook her to her core. She could feel her thoughts unraveling like a poorly stitched cloak, but it didn't matter, so long as she kept running. Every command seal had been spent like a match struck in a storm, her mana reduced to mere embers. Survival wasn't victory, not anymore. That had been taken from her with calls. She knew that. But maybe, just maybe, it was enough. To keep running, keep bleeding, enough to bear witness, to scream without a voice. To live when living meant remembering the dead, to endure. Truth be told, she didn't rightly know where she was running to anymore. Maybe to him, perhaps, that one servant that shared a class with her. Berserker of Red. Except, she had no idea where he was. Surely the Red faction hadn't been usurped. They couldn't be, right? She didn't have a wish anymore. Just momentum and heart that sparked like a dying star, in a ruined frame. And behind her, the laughter of something holy yet profaned. The Siegfried that was not watched her retreat with eyes like halos dipped in pitch and whispered something to the shadows trailing behind her. Let her go. There's no glory in catching prey that already knows despair. She would lead them to greater prey. Somewhere far ahead, the sky split like paper. A golden nova ignited above the battlefield. Not fire. Not lightning. Something deeper, older, noble. Phantasms answered each other like thunderclaps. Steel clashed against myth. And then, silence. The kind of silence only gods can command. It was over. The storm was gone. Their enemies was dead. And standing at the epicenter, wreathed in smoke and broken curses. Naruto! Uzumaki exhaled. He stood coated in blood. Not all of it his. Not most. He cracked his neck once, wincing at the pop that followed. Say what you would about having a double class, but there was a certain simplicity in killing one's enemies oneself. Behind him, Mordred leaned on her blade like a crutch, breathing hard. Atalanta crouched low behind him, clutching onto little Ilia for dear life. Jean stood a few paces back, fire humming at her shoulders like a heartbeat. They had won, but not without cost. The Grail hovered above Naruto's hand now, flickering, dim. Alive, but only just. It was done. You know, he murmured, wiping his brow with a torn scrap of cloth. A wise man once told me something. His voice was rough, tired. Some seasons are better than others. One bad weed can kill a whole crop. Some people burn an entire field just to save their farm. He looked at the two masters of Red groveling before him, begging for mercy. They didn't deserve. Jean Rum and Kairi Sisegu might have advocated for mercy, But they weren't here right now, safely tucked away where none could find them. And he wasn't feeling too merciful at the moment. Enemies were enemies, and these were pawns of Shiro, tools he had no use for. Atalanta's master wasn't among them either. So it stood to reason that there was only one fate left for them. Semiramis stepped up behind him and tutted softly, making her presence known at last. I could kill them if you wish. Nope. Had to be him. The truth is, he said, walking forward, there's a simpler solution. So speaking, he seized them both by the necks, one to each hand, and hoisted them into the air like broken dolls. If you want to save the field, the harvest. The marks on his arms glowed. The grail pulsed. You pluck them out. He squeezed. They didn't scream long. He's mad, Jan whispered. You think, Mordred grunted, still hunched over. She watched as Naruto landed like judgment incarnate. The two masters gone in a flash of golden annihilation. No jutsu, no theatrics. Just power. None of his clever quips. No angry screams. No tears. Just silent wrath. Letting their corpses fall, he looked to the rubble of the fallen church. Did you think I forgot about you, Shiro? He growled, eyes darting up to where the false priest once stood. But the priest was nowhere to be seen. Only embers now. Still. Kill the masters! Someone had screamed earlier. Without them, the servants will cease to exist. But they hadn't. Not this time. Shiro had made sure of that. Naruto could feel the web tightening around the grail even now. Traps, spells, backdoors. Kodamine. Shiro was far from finished, it seemed. And there was no sign of Karna. Soft giggle echoed nearby, much to his annoyance. Ahahaha. Such beautiful chaos. Such divine dramaturgy. Shakespeare pirouetted across a burning wagon, quill dancing in the air. This is what I live for, he howled, the final act of a tragedy. A king standing over his broken crown. Oh golden fool, will you grant me one last scene? Naruto turned, brows twitching. No. Eh? The bard paused mid-twirl. Why ever not? We just killed a bunch of rogue servants in a walking war crime, he muttered. I'm not in the mood for theatrics. But, my grand epic. Later, Naruto growled, when I'm not bleeding from 6 places. Jean stepped up beside him, one hand raised in warning. Don't test him. Shakespeare sighed with the dramatic agony of a widow and bowed. Then, from the sky, seemingly from the heavens themselves, he came. A flare of red, a pulse of celestial breath. Karna descended. He hit the earth like a comet, cloak swirling behind him. The weight of legends radiated off his skin like solar flares. No declaration. No grandstanding. Just presence. Purpose. He met Naruto's eyes. Fight me. It was both demand and declaration. Said simply. Naruto blinked. What? Karna stepped forward, each step melting the frost from the air. You hold the grail. I have watched. I have judged. You are worthy. The grail shimmered faintly in Naruto's hand. He closed his fingers around it protectively. How about no... Daddy? Blur crashed into his side and nearly tipped him clean over. Ack! Down, Jackie, down! You're a livey. I won't be if you keep squeezing me like that. The little assassin clung to his side like a limpet, eyes glowing with eerie cheer. Jan ran a hand through her ashen hair, staring in mild horror. Must you treat her that way? It was either that or let her disembowel the next 7 people who looked at her funny. Naruto muttered. She squawked. You gave Jack the Ripper a pet name. Well, she calls me Onichi-chan when she's happy. Why is that worse? As though summoned by that very thought, Fran stumbled through the ash cloud at that exact moment, tumbling into the street opposite them, and froze. Their eyes met, his bright, wild blue, hers mismatching gold and aqua. He hadn't seen her since the war began. Not like this, not clean. Not exactly whole. The poor girl looked like she'd just finished running a marathon, and she had the wounds to show for it, which meant she likely wasn't a servant of the blue, else she would have attacked him by now. Clearly, she hadn't expected to see him alive at all. "Fran," he said softly, "long time no see. You good?" A moment of silence passed, and then she ran toward him, jumped him, pressed him against a crumbling wall, held him there, smashed her lips to his Time stilled. Jan froze. Karna blinked. Atalanta balked. Little Ilya cooed in her arms. Semiramis tilted her head instead. Mordred grit her teeth and absolutely hissed, "Oi!" Jack covered her eyes. "Shakespeare!" squealed giddily. "Yes, that's it!" Jan turned around, arms crossed, muttering to herself. Naruto just stood there. Fran broke the kiss, short-circuited with a flustered hum, and ducked her head against his chest. He heard her muttered a single word, near broken with relief. S.A. "Okay," he mumbled, cheeks burning. "What the hell was that for?" She didn't answer and only held tight to him instead. In the background, Karna raised his spear again. "Fight!" Naruto promptly flipped him off. "Damn it, I just got kissed for the first time in years. Not now." Atalanta coughed into a fist. "Berserker, care to explain yourself?" Mordred began cracking her knuckles with intent. Jen tapped her flag down, eyes blazing. Semiramis' smile was pure poison. Shakespeare whispered, quill scratching madly. Scene change. The Warrior and the Phoenix. Page 6. Kiss of the Bolt-born Bride. She who angers many. Naruto slapped a palm to his forehead. This day just wouldn't end.